Janelle never liked big parties, but she came anyway. She stood near the edge of the room, holding a small silver gift bag and forcing a smile. Her heels pinched her feet, but she didn't complain. This was her sister's big night, Melanie's engagement party. And even after everything, Janelle showed up. She always showed up. The ballroom glittered with gold decorations. Laughter floated through the air. The music was soft, elegant. Guests smiled for photos, sipping champagne and talking about wedding plans. But Janelle felt out of place, like a guest in her own family. She kept her distance, hoping to stay just long enough to be polite, then slip out quietly. Across the room, her mother Vivian stood by the bar, dressed in her best, holding a steaming mug of coffee. She looked like any proud mother at a fancy event. But Janelle knew that look in her eyes, tight, controlled, and waiting to explode. Then it happened. Vivian raised her hand and threw the coffee mug straight across the room. It hit Janelle in the face. The hot liquid splashed over her cheek and neck, and the mug shattered at her feet. The room froze. Janelle screamed and grabbed her face. The burn was instant, sharp, and blinding. Tears mixed with the coffee on her skin. Gasps rose from the crowd. A waiter dropped a tray. Someone turned off the music. People just stared. She looked up, eyes red, chest shaking. "Because I wouldn't give you $40,000. Her voice cracked. Her heart did too. Vivian didn't blink. Her voice rang out cold and loud. "You're selfish. You'd rather see your sister suffer than help this family." Janelle looked around. Everyone was watching. Her skin burned. Her pride burned worse. Melanie stood nearby, eyes wide, but she didn't say a word. She looked down. Her face flushed with shame, but her mouth stayed shut. Click. A camera flash. Someone had taken a picture. In that second, everything was clear. Janelle wasn't just the target. She was the scapegoat, the problem, the outsider, and now the whole world saw it. She didn't speak again. She didn't need to. The damage was done. 6 months before the engagement party, Janelle was sitting alone in her apartment, staring at her phone. Another message from her mum, asking, no, demanding, money. This time, it was $40,000 for Melanie's wedding, a wedding Janelle had already helped pay for once. It wasn't about need, it was about control, about image, about showing off. Janelle was 28. She had built her logistics company from the ground up. She worked hard, stayed up late, took risks, and finally found success. She wasn't a millionaire, but she was comfortable, independent. And that, to her mother Vivian, was a problem. Vivian had always wanted to be the kind of woman people admired. She wore perfect clothes, attended the right church events, and made sure people believed her family was just as perfect as she pretended to be. But behind closed doors, she was harsh, controlling, quick to guilt-trip her daughters. If Janelle ever said no to anything, Vivian made her feel like a terrible person. When Janelle was younger, she worked 2 jobs in college while sending money home each month. Vivian said it was her duty to help, especially after their dad passed away. Janelle didn't argue, she just did it. Years later, Janelle paid for Melanie's college too. Covered books, housing, tuition. No thank you. Just silence. Or worse, a new request. Last year, she even bought Vivian a car when the old one broke down. Not a fancy one, just reliable. Still, it was never enough. Now, Janelle said no for the first time. No to more money. No to being used. No to pretending everything was okay. That's when the shift happened. Suddenly, she was the problem. Vivian told family members Janelle had changed. That success made her selfish, that she didn't care about anyone but herself. Melanie didn't defend her. She just repeated whatever Mom said. "You have more than enough," she told Janelle on the phone one night. "Why can't you just help?" Janelle wanted to scream. It wasn't about the money. It was about how it was expected, demanded, like she owed them her life. Daniel, her ex, used to understand. He had been close to the family when they dated, even after the breakup. But slowly, even he started taking their side. Janelle remembered the last conversation they had. He said, "Your mum just wants to feel supported. Is it really that hard for you to do that?" That hurt more than anything. Daniel had seen what Janelle went through. He should have known better. Janelle wasn't perfect. She knew that. She could be distant, sometimes short-tempered, but she had always tried. She showed up to family dinners, even when she felt like an outsider. She sent birthday gifts. She checked in. She tried, even when they made her feel small. There were times she thought, Maybe if she just gave a little more, they'd finally accept her. Maybe they'd stop looking at her like she was the bad guy. But deep down, she knew, no matter what she did, it would never be enough. That's what made her so tired. Not just the requests, but the feeling that love had to be earned. That if she wasn't giving something, she wasn't wanted. Still, she kept showing up, even when it hurt, until the day she finally said no. It was a Saturday afternoon when Janelle got the message. Family meeting, 5 p.m. No excuses. She knew what it was about before she even walked through the door. Vivian was waiting in the living room, sitting tall and stiff in her favorite chair. Melanie was already on the couch, her eyes red, tissue in hand. There were snacks on the table, as if it was going to be a normal family talk, but the air was heavy, tense. Janelle sat down slowly, hands folded in her lap. No one smiled. Vivian started talking right away. "Your sister's wedding is coming. We can't wait anymore. We need your help." "I already said I can't give you more money," Janelle said calmly, though her voice was tight. Vivian leaned forward. "Can't? Or won't? You've always been able to help. Now suddenly you're too good for us." Melanie sniffed and wiped her eyes. "I just want one day to feel special. I'm your sister, Janelle. Don't I matter to you?" Janelle took a breath. "Of course you matter. But I've already helped. I paid for your school, remember? I helped with the first venue deposit. This wedding doesn't need to be this expensive." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "If your father were alive, you think he'd say no to his own daughter?" That hit hard. Janelle looked down. Her chest tightened. They always brought up her dad when they wanted to hurt her. "I'm not Dad," she said softly. "And I'm not a bank." Melanie's voice rose. "You just don't want me to be happy. Admit it. You're jealous." That stopped Janelle cold. "Jealous?" she repeated, shocked. Vivian jumped in. "You've always had trouble sharing the spotlight. That's why you stayed single. That's why you're alone. You think your money makes you better than us." Janelle felt her hands start to shake. She wasn't angry. She was tired. Tired of being guilt-tripped. Tired of being called selfish when she had given so much. Tired of trying to prove her worth to a family that didn't seem to care about her unless she was useful. She stood up slowly. Her voice was quiet but firm. "I'm done." Melanie stared. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done explaining myself. I'm done being the bad guy because I said no." Vivian stood too. "You're walking out on your family. That's who you are now." Janelle didn't answer. She walked to the door, grabbed her purse, and left. As soon as she got to her car, the tears came. Not loud or dramatic, just quiet, painful ones. She sat there, gripping the steering wheel, letting herself cry in the safety of her own space. Later that night, she opened the family group chat. Messages were already pouring in. Aunts, cousins. "Why won't you help? It's just money. Don't forget where you came from." Janelle didn't respond. She scrolled all the way up. Then, without a word, she tapped Leave Group. It was the first real choice she had made for herself in years, and it hurt. But it also felt like a breath of fresh air. After Janelle left the family meeting and removed herself from the group chat, the silence didn't last long. It started with whispers. Then it spread like wildfire. First, it was small, a cousin's message left unread, an aunt's sudden change of tone. But soon, it was clear. Vivian had begun talking, and people were listening. At church, the looks came first. Sideways glances, half smiles. Then came the questions. "You really said no to your sister's wedding. She's your only sister, isn't she?" People didn't ask out of concern. They asked to judge. In the family WhatsApp groups Janelle had left, the messages got worse. Screenshots made their way to her through mutual friends. Janelle forgot where she came from. Money changed her. She's too proud to help her own blood. Even her great aunt in Houston, who Janelle hadn't seen in 5 years, was suddenly talking about her. A real daughter would never say no to her mother. That message made Janelle laugh for a second, then cry for a lot longer. The worst part was how Melanie joined in, not with direct insults, but with quiet, cutting posts online. Pictures of wedding dresses with captions like, "Some people don't want you to be happy, even if they say they love you." Janelle saw them all. She didn't comment. She didn't like. But the silence stung. Melanie had become someone else. Or maybe someone Janelle never really knew. At work, things didn't get better. Janelle tried to focus, but she was tired, distracted. Her phone kept buzzing with messages she didn't want to read. Emails sat unanswered. She started forgetting small things, meetings, follow-ups, even lunch. Her assistant asked if she was okay. Janelle smiled and said yes, but she wasn't. Then came the part that broke her even more. One afternoon, she got a message from Daniel, her ex. They hadn't spoken in months. Not since they ended things for good. He asked if they could meet. They sat across from each other in a quiet cafe. He looked nervous. She looked tired. "I talked to your mum," he began. Janelle froze. "Why?" "She and Melanie reached out. They thought maybe I could talk to you, help you rethink things." Janelle stared at him. "Behind my back?" "They're hurting Janelle," he said, trying to sound reasonable. "They just want you back." She blinked slowly. "Back? I never left. I just said no." Daniel leaned in. "You're punishing them for being flawed." That sentence hit her like a punch in the chest. She stood up. "I'm finally protecting myself." She walked out. Back in her car, she sat in silence. Then the tears came, heavy, ugly, painful. She clutched the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding her together. She didn't cry just because of Daniel. It was everything. The silence, the betrayal, the lies, the loneliness. She remembered her early 20s, working 2 jobs, eating cheap meals, riding the bus in the rain. She'd send money home every month because Vivian said they needed it. Later, she found out it went towards spa days and shopping trips. Janelle had gone without, just so they could look good. No one ever said thank you. No one ever gave back. Now she was the selfish one, the cold one, the ungrateful. As if that wasn't enough, a few days later, a friend sent her a link. A gossip blog had posted a clip, an old voice note she'd sent to a cousin, venting about the money pressure. Someone in the family had leaked it. The post called her the stingy, rich daughter. The comments were cruel. "She's lucky to have a family at all. Money really changes people. What a shame." Janelle turned off her phone. She sat on her couch in silence. She was alone. Not because she wanted to be, but because choosing herself meant losing them. And still, a small part of her wished they would just say sorry, just once. But they didn't. The day of the engagement party arrived, bright and warm. The house was full of decorations, music, and people dressed in their best clothes. Laughter filled the air, and the smell of catered food floated through the rooms. Everyone seemed excited. Everyone except Janelle. She hadn't planned to come, but after weeks of silence, anger, and gossip, she thought maybe showing up with a small gift would be the right thing to do, not for approval, but for her own peace. She only planned to stay for 10 minutes, in and out, quiet, polite, respectful. She wore a simple dress, no makeup, her hair pulled back. She walked into the large house, holding a neatly wrapped box with a handmade card inside. Some people looked surprised to see her. Others looked away. No one came to hug her. She found a small table near the back and placed the gift there. She didn't go looking for anyone. She just stood near the edge of the room, watching the celebration from a distance. Her heart was heavy, but she stood tall. Then, suddenly, a spoon tapped against a glass. Vivian stood in the center of the room, smiling at everyone. "Can I have your attention, please?" People quieted down. Phones were lifted. Cameras turned. Vivian raised her glass high. "I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for being here. This day means so much to our family. It shows who really cares, who shows up when it matters most." A few heads turned toward Janelle. Vivian kept smiling. "So here's to daughters who don't abandon their families when we need them most." There was a long pause. People shifted in their seats. The room was no longer light. It felt sharp, cold. Janelle looked up. Her voice was calm but clear. "Giving everything you have doesn't make people love you," she said. "It just makes them think they own you." Silence. Pure silence. Vivian's smile disappeared. Her face turned hard. Without warning, she grabbed the coffee mug from the table in front of her. In one fast, furious move, she threw it across the room. It hit Janelle straight in the face. The mug shattered on the floor. Hot liquid splashed across her cheek and neck. The pain was instant, burning and sharp. Gasps filled the room. Someone screamed. Chairs scraped the floor as people stood. But Janelle didn't fall. She didn't cry out. She put a hand to her face, her skin red and stinging. Her eyes filled with tears, but they didn't fall. She looked straight at her mother. Vivian stared back, breathing heavily. "You're selfish," she spat. "You'd rather see your sister suffer than help this family." Janelle's voice trembled, but stayed strong. "Number I just finally stopped letting you hurt me." A camera flashed, then another. People were filming, watching. No one moved to stop it. Janelle stood there, burned and humiliated in front of everyone. But she wasn't broken. She turned, picked up her purse. and walked out. No more words, no more tears. The door shut behind her, but her silence said everything. Weeks passed after the party, but the memory of what happened never left Janelle's mind. Her face healed, but something inside her had changed for good. She was no longer trying to be quiet or polite. She was done pretending. The morning after the attack, she woke up with a sore cheek and a heavy heart. But instead of hiding, she called a lawyer. She explained everything, what her mother did, how it happened in public, in front of so many witnesses. She pressed charges for assault. It wasn't easy. The police came to ask questions. There were forms to fill out. Then came the court documents and the restraining order. She felt nervous, but also strong. It was time to protect herself, even if the person she needed protection from was her own mother. What Janelle didn't know was that someone else had recorded the moment when the mug hit her face. A friend who had come to the party had filmed it, shocked by what they saw. That friend didn't post it online right away, but after the news broke about the assault charge, the video started to spread. Within days, the video was all over social media. People were horrified. Comments poured in. This is abuse. No one deserves that. How could a mother do this? Some people still tried to defend Vivian, calling it just a family issue, but most supported Janelle. Many shared their own stories. Daughters, sons, even parents, people who had been hurt by those they loved. Janelle didn't say anything at first, but after a week, she finally posted on her account. It was simple, a picture of her healed face. No makeup, no filter, just real. The caption said, "Love is not conditional. Blood isn't loyalty. And saying no saved my life." The post went viral. People reshared it, quoted it, and talked about it on blogs and podcasts. Janelle's name became known not just for her company, but for her strength. But while the world saw her strength, inside, Janelle was still trying to heal. She started going to therapy every week. At first, it felt strange to talk about her feelings with someone she didn't know, but slowly, she began to open up. She talked about the childhood guilt, the way her mother used love like a weapon, the years of doing everything for everyone, and still never being enough. Her therapist helped her see that what she had gone through wasn't just family drama, it was emotional abuse. Janelle cried in many of those sessions, not from weakness, but from finally letting go of all the pain she had carried for so long. As she got stronger, she remembered someone from her past, an old college professor who once believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. She reached out just to say thank you, but the call led to something more. The professor invited her to speak at a workshop about resilience and entrepreneurship. Janelle was nervous, but she said yes. Standing in front of a room full of young women, she told her story, not just about her business, but about her family, the truth, the pain, the healing. After the workshop, a few students came up to her crying. One said, "You just told my story." That moment changed something in Janelle. She realized she wasn't alone, and she didn't want others to feel alone either. So she began volunteering at a local shelter for women who were escaping toxic homes, not always from partners, but sometimes from their own parents. Janelle listened, supported, and sometimes just sat in silence with them. She didn't try to fix anyone. She just showed up, like no one had ever done for her. Then, late one night, she sat at her desk and opened her laptop. The words poured out of her like a flood. She wrote an article called "The Emotional Abuse in Families No One Talks About." In it, she wrote, "We are taught to believe that family means forever, that parents are always right, that saying no is disrespect. But some families don't want your love, they want your obedience. And when you stop giving that, they turn on you. I loved my family. I gave until I had nothing left. And when I said no, they called me selfish. But saying no saved me. It made space for the life I deserve." She didn't expect it to get attention, but it did. The article was picked up by online magazines and shared on wellness blogs. Therapists started referencing it. People from around the world emailed her to thank her. They felt seen. Janelle didn't feel like a hero. She still had hard days. There were mornings when she missed Melanie, nights when she thought of Vivian and wondered how things got so bad. But she had peace now. She had space to breathe, space to be herself. One evening, after a long day, she sat on her porch with a warm cup of tea. The sun was setting, the sky painted with soft oranges and pinks. She looked at the quiet street, then at the plants she had just watered. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It said, "Hi, it's Melanie. I'm sorry." Janelle stared at the message for a long moment. Her heart ached, but she felt calm. She set the phone down without replying. She wasn't ready, and that was okay. Healing doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it comes in quiet moments. A soft breeze, a kind word, a deep breath. Janelle didn't win by hurting anyone. She didn't fight to destroy. She won by walking away, by choosing herself, by breaking the cycle, and finally, by learning that she never needed to earn love. She just needed to love herself first. It was a quiet Sunday morning. The world outside felt still and calm. Janelle sat on her porch, wrapped in a soft sweater, holding a warm cup of coffee. The sky was painted in light orange and pink, and the air felt fresh. She sat in silence, letting the moment wash over her. There was no noise, no rushing, no pressure, just peace. Her phone buzzed beside her. She glanced at the screen and saw a message from a number she hadn't saved, but she knew who it was. "Hi, it's Melanie. I'm sorry." Janelle stared at the message. Her face didn't change. No tears, no anger, just quiet. She slowly set the phone down on the table. She didn't reply. She wasn't ready, and that was okay. A little girl from next door walked past with her dog, holding a leash too big for her hands. She looked up, smiled, and waved. Janelle smiled back, a soft and warm smile. The girl giggled and kept walking. Janelle took a deep breath. Her chest rose and fell, slow and steady. Some pain doesn't leave marks you can see. It lives deep inside where no one else can reach. But even those wounds can heal, little by little. And as she sat there, quiet and alone, but stronger than ever, Janelle knew she was on her way. Do you think Janelle did the right thing by walking away from her family and choosing peace? Or should she have given them another chance? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And if you want more powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.